Hello, everybody. This is Tom Eckert here. You're listening to my podcast, Numerology, a GPS for the soul. This is your place to learn about the true power of numerology and how to use it to bring out the best in yourself, understand your loved ones better, take wise decisions, and prepare for your future. In other words, how to live your life aligned with your true destiny. Take your time to educate yourself and share these podcasts with your friends and family so they too can enjoy the great benefits of numerology. Enjoy! Hello there, and welcome to all my listeners. I'm so happy to record another episode, as always. If you are new here, then you should know that this podcast is dedicated to numerology as a path for inner transformation, for self-clarity, for inner growth, self-understanding. And my attempt is to make numerology clear, crisp, grounded, and accessible for everyday life matters. Now, if you haven't done so yet, I really encourage you to join my numerology Facebook group. The link is found in the podcast's main page. You can also find it on Facebook under the name Numerology GPS for the Soul, just as the podcast's name. Now, just a few other things. If you never got a numerology reading in your life and you want to deepen and understand yourself on a whole new level, you are welcome to contact me. If you want to study numerology in a self-paced way, check out my self-study numerology course. And if you happen to dream about becoming a professional numerologist, you can study one-on-one with me. And all the info is on my website, and the link is provided in the episode and podcast descriptions. Now, having said that, without further ado, let us move into today's topic, which is really, really fascinating. Today we're going to explore the whole notion of interpreting the chart from different angles that is not limited to the interpretation of the numbers themselves. Now, what do I mean by that? So today we're going to focus on the meaning of odd and even numbers. Now, when I look at a chart and I see whatever arrangement or blueprint of numbers, I can start kind of jumping right into the chart and interpreting the numbers, each one according to their own energy. Let's say number 3 according to the playfulness and childlikeness and lightness, 7 according to the depth and the wisdom and the soul searching, and so on and so forth, right? Each number has their own meaning. But say I just look at a chart, and before I even take that extra step of starting to get into the world of the numbers, there are a few tips, and as a matter of fact, much more than tips. This is actually a profound topic. Different angles of approaching the numbers and deriving information from them before you even step into any specific number per se. Today we're going to focus on, as I said, odd and even numbers. Now, you have to know that odd and even numbers, each group has a certain uniqueness, has a certain contribution to our personality, has unique tendencies, has certain gifts, and naturally has also certain disadvantages. So we're going to touch upon all of those. And I highly recommend writing down, listening, taking the time to really understand this, because this can actually give you a whole new way of accessing your own chart and, deriving so much more information about yourself, about your makeup, your blueprint, what moves you in life, what kind of personality you are. You're going to see much more as I start diving deeper, and naturally also do the same for the people that you love, right? The people you give readings to, your friends, your family, and whoever it is. So in a sense, once you learn what we're going to talk about today, you can look at a chart and derive significantly more info based only on this angle of interpretation. Just to give you an example, if I know how to read feminine and masculine numbers, which is another angle of interpreting numbers without kind of like entering each number in specific, and maybe I'm going to make another episode just on that, then I can say, oh, I see a chart with many feminine numbers. That tells me that this person is more yielding, receptive, attentive, emotionally open, vulnerable, right? And this is before I start like even interpreting each and every number. The simple fact, that angle of interpretation, looking at the chart more from that perspective, oh, feminine numbers, or say I see a chart and I see masculine numbers, right? More kind of self-controlled, self-disciplined, strong-willed, opinionated. So it's not like I interpreted any number in specific, but I really got the gist of it. And that is incredible because you just, at first glance, you can already derive a lot of information. And that's super helpful, to give you confidence and to give you kind of a place to land into, to feel, that you have an anchor, right, to lean on. So let's start by talking about the odd numbers. Now, the odd numbers are the 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And odd numbers are characterized by being much more individualistic. The odd numbers are more revolutionary and tend to be out of the box, both in their way of thinking, in their way of behavior. These are the kind of energies that, or people or personalities that tend to follow their own truth, okay? Which means they tend to want and like to make their own rules, not follow necessarily what society dictates that should or should not happen, right? So it means these people definitely rebel very often against the status quo, don't accept things in face value, don't accept just things because that's how they've been taught, or because their parents said so, or because the majority does so. These are people that very often break the rules. They're more connected to the, what we can call like the inner self, and less to the societal self, okay? Like less to the societal rules. So there's something like a rule breaking element in them. But what I mean is not like that they're just rebels. I mean, they're people that can invent, right? These are the people that can bring, right, something new into our life, something groundbreaking, because they are by nature searching for that which is out of the box, unique, that stands out. So that's the energy of odd numbers. Now, as you can imagine, having odd numbers, there can be a few disadvantages. It's not only disadvantages, okay? When I say disadvantages, I simply mean also like the challenging parts, right? The more complex parts of having odd numbers. So, for example, odd numbers are less connected to the moral ethics of society. And sometimes this can get a bit overboard. This can get a bit excessive. So, for example, if I lack moral boundaries or moral ethics, I don't have like a sufficiently strong superego. Superego is a term borrowed from Freudian psychology. Superego is that side inside of us that kind of like gives us that healthy editing, like the ego faculty that edits what's wrong, what's right, what shouldn't be done, what should be done, so that we can actually maintain a healthy functioning society, not just go out there in the street, and murder someone just because we felt like doing it, right? So we have this kind of like a sense of a healthy ego. But if we have too strong odd numbers without any kind of like healthy upbringing, without any balancing, say even numbers, we can lack moral ethics and be too much disrespectful of the rules of the law, find ourselves really not fitting in. So very often, odd numbers can find themselves to be like outsiders, not so much fitting in. This can also be a good thing, right? This can be really cool and give them a kind of edge, push them into actually groundbreaking discoveries. So this can also be fun, of course. But like on the more shadowy side, they can be misunderstood and kind of slowly get marginalized. And in a sense, without proper upbringing, without proper support, these people can also end up, with all kinds of psychological issues, mental issues. As I said, really kind of like end up at the margins of society, and all kinds of like psychiatric wards, criminals, etc. Right? So because these are the people that are like, again, outside the law, outside the rules, so to speak, but like in an imbalanced way. So it's important with odd numbers to cultivate, as they grow up, to cultivate their uniqueness. If you're a parent, say, to a child that has a lot of odd numbers, make sure to cultivate their uniqueness to support that side of them that is like a free bird, that thinks differently, that approaches life differently, that by nature doesn't like, being captured in a box, likes to think for themselves, to pave their own way. So it's important to support that while balancing their moral ethics to a balanced extent, right? Not oppressing them. So let's just remember that the odd numbers are here to bring about revolutions, to bring about new inventions, to basically pave the path to our future, to what's not yet been discovered, to bring in new possibilities into the world. So here we have the revolutionaries, people that are very loyal to their inner truth, and usually will not be that much interested to listen to you unless what you share with them really kind of like strikes a chord with them and their inner truth. So that's the beauty and the disadvantage of the odd numbers. Having said that, let us move on and talk about the even numbers. Now, the even numbers are 2, 4, 6, and 8. And these numbers are more grounded. They are more responsible. There's a sense of solid moral ethics, a connection to society and society's rules, a deep respect for these rules, a deep respect for, like all the past, we can say, right? They're very appreciative of roots, of the past, of what brought us all the way to where we are today. And therefore there's something a bit more normative, a bit more conservative, following the trends of society, a strong conscience. They're more helpful. They're more consistent, right? So these are the people, right, that can be, say, when you imagine it like in a more cliche way, you're going to imagine the person who's a good student in school and then goes to college or university, gets a degree, finds a good job, steady, 9 to 5, evolves and grows and expands in this job, gets married, establishes a family, buys a home. You know what I mean? There's that kind of like that picture of the norm, so to speak, the norm as we imagine it. Now, this is not bad. It's just another type of energy, and we need both. We need both. We need the ones that bring the new, right? And we need the ones that conserve the existing. We need both. If we constantly break the rules and bring the new, we're not going to have a solid ground. We need all elements, right? So the even numbers are the ones that are kind of like they hold the ground. Now, having said that, in terms of disadvantages, right, or like the more shadowy sides, we're talking about people that can become overly conservative, for example, prejudiced, right? And this can be, again, from a mild version of this to a more extreme version of this, where, people who are against, women rights, where, we can see these things in some countries, or against, queer or LGBTQ rights, and, we don't want refugees in our country, and so on and so forth. Again, I'm just giving an example. This is not any kind of political discussion here. It's just to give like an idea so you understand the energy. Or overly conservative can be also, if you don't have a degree, then your job doesn't count. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have a university degree, then it's worth nothing what you're doing. You must get a university degree in order to be successful. This can also be overly conservative or prejudiced. Now, another thing with the even numbers is they tend to not step out of the box. Very, very rarely, if at all. And that can cause, in the long run, a form of strong suppression of desires. Like, there's a stretching gap between what they wish to experience, because all of us deep inside have these unbridled, primordial forces inside of us that dream of things, that want to experience things. And the only difference is that even numbers are gonna let themselves much less to experience those desires in comparison to the odd numbers, right? So there's going to be much more suppression of desires, a gap, as I said, between what I want and what I'm going to allow myself to do. There's more, they tend to be more guilt-ridden, right? Like this, because it's like, I feel like I owe it to society to respect its rules. I have obligations. I have, my moral conscience doesn't let me now just go to the party or just enjoy myself in the sun or in the lake or just take a vacation because I feel like I have to work and make money, because what about the future? And what about when I'm 65 and I'm getting old and I need money to then, you know what I mean? So it's very often there's that kind of like that weight that is just bearing down on them. Very often living a life of compromise, right? So a lot of compromise going on here. So these are the disadvantages you can see of the even numbers. So on the one hand, right, we're talking about these people that are like the ground of our society, holding the structures together, maintaining our safety, our security, our sense of consistency, continuity, cohesiveness, right? Everything is kind of glued together. There's a solidity under our feet, right? That's the beauty, the gift of the even numbers. Whereas the odd numbers really give us that kind of edge, that piercing into a new frontier, a discovery, an invention, piercing into the new, revolutionizing, advancing, right? Following a truth. So much beauty, right? So each type of chart, a chart with, say, mostly odd numbers or a chart with mostly even numbers, has its uniqueness and magic. No chart is better or worse than another. Each one creates its kind of own unique flavor. And it's very interesting, now that you've kind of learned this topic in this episode, to observe certain charts and check, what's the balance of, right? What's the balance of odd and even numbers in my chart? And what does that mean about me? Am I more a freestyle person, a free-thinking person, someone who follows their own path? Do I respect the rules of society? Maybe suddenly you discover, oh, that's why I've always felt like I'm misunderstood and don't fit in. But suddenly you can confirm to yourself, wow, I'm not supposed to fit in because that is what I'm here to do. I am here to revolutionize, to bring the new. Or if you have mostly even numbers, then you know, hey, I don't have to be an image of being free and cool, because we can see that as well. I see many people that I know, students and friends and just people, they feel like let's say they're in a surroundings that is mostly influenced by the odd number energy, right? The free, the revolution, and so on. They want to kind of be sexy and cool as well, but their energies are more even numbered. And so they struggle. They try to kind of like fight themselves to kind of like conjure up like a whole new self-image, and it becomes really, convoluted and clumsy. You know what I mean? Because inauthentic. We are here to accept our structure. We are here to love our structure and to see the beauty. And if we want to be reminded about our beauty, then let's just go back, right? Just rewind and go back to the part where I describe your type. If you're mostly even number, respect yourself. Respect yourself, respect your structure, respect what you're here to bring to the world. Now, you're naturally going to find many charts that have a mixture of those numbers, a bit even, a bit odd. And this is so interesting, right? Because it gives you so much more dynamic input about yourself and about people, by and large. Right? So in a sense, now that you've learned a whole new way to look at your chart and at other people's chart, you can simply interpret it from this new perspective without going specifically into the numbers, and derive so much more information about your life, your blueprint, your makeup, your tendencies, right? Both shadow and light, pros and cons, right? So it's enough that you see, I have 1593. You don't have to interpret each and every one of them. You see, they're all odd numbers. Boom. I know now what that means. Or, I have mostly 4, 6, 2. They're even numbers. Boom. I know what that means without interpreting each and every one. So that's already, it gives you so much input. And that's a gift. Well, my friends, super interesting topic, and I assume I'm gonna share more episodes about like other angles to interpret your chart and your numbers, because there are definitely more ways to interpret, the numbers without getting into the numbers each and one per se. So just to remind you, if you didn't do so yet, please, by all means, join my Facebook numerology group. We have a very wakeful, high-quality discussion. I guess you've already noticed that I try to keep like a very deep form of discussion here in this podcast, and not just talk about like all kinds of like fanciful, topics about numerology, but really keep it grounded, connected to life. And my group is the same. So join us there as well, participate in the conversation, post something so we can answer, so that I can relate to you and write you in a more personal way. As I said, you can find the link in the podcast's main page, or just search for the group on Facebook under the name Numerology, GPS for the Soul. Remember, you can get a numerology reading from me. This is fantastic. You can learn numerology in a self-paced manner with my self-study course, and you can also study numerology professionally with me in a one-on-one format. And all this information you can find on my website. The link is provided in the podcast and episode description. My friends, I send you my love and blessings, and as always, I'll see you in the next episodes. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, and you want to go deeper into numerology, check out my website, tom-eckert.com. You can also book a numerology reading or even study numerology yourself through my courses. I'll see you in the next episode.